So many stars. Scientists have proven that the only difference between you and the stars is one molecule. One molecule. That's it. The stars are our relatives. We are made of the same stuff as the whole universe. So I love that song. It's just it's so true. So many choices, so many possibilities in our lives. We in Unity love to share that science and religion or spirituality are the same thing, really. We're just coming at it from different angles. But we're here to prove the truth, whether it's through scripture, through spiritual writing, or through a scientific discovery. Not long ago, I read an article in a magazine called "Is Marriage Necessary?" The writer quoted a psychiatrist who was an expert in the field of relationships, and he said, "I don't believe that love is a part of human nature, not for a minute. And even if it is a part of our nature like crime or violence, it's certainly not necessarily desirable." That's sad. We in Unity would say this guy is relationship challenged. I'd love to sit down and talk with him and do a counseling session to see where this equating loving relationship with violence and crime comes from. It appears that science does agree with this man, that romance is really just a chemical reaction to another person that began as a mating ritual back in prehistoric times. A primitive couple would stay together for about 4 years or so, long enough to raise a child through infancy, and then the partners would split and begin all over again. Sounds like the typical plot line of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Next season, everybody has a new partner. Actually, the 7-year itch that we've heard about is shorter than 7 years, biologically, according to the latest findings. Today, divorce rates are highest at, guess what? How many years? 4. There seems to be something at 4 years that kicks in the separation idea. But if you can make it past the 4-year term, the likelihood that you'll stay together is greater. When Cole Porter wrote "I Get a Kick Out of You," little did he realize he was writing about a chemical wallop. From the natural amphetamines that the brain creates up to 3, 4, 5 years at a stretch. After that time, endorphins and oxytocin, the cuddle chemicals, kick in. When a couple breaks up or passes on, one goes through a drug withdrawal. Literally, you're going through a drug withdrawal from that other person. Now, none of this sounds terribly spiritual, does it? If this study is correct, the social critic Ambrose Bierce was right when he said love is a temporary insanity cured by marriage. As I was reading the article, I wondered, where does divine love fit in all this? As the Unity minister, I look for that everywhere, right? Where's the spiritual? Where's the love part? Where's all this good stuff? Is love fake? Is it just a biochemical response that actually means nothing? As spiritual beings, we're created by divine love energy, as we affirmed this morning. I am love, and I am loved, and I am loving, and I am literally divine love. But according to science, we seem to be just chemical machines reacting to hormonal overdrive or hormonal deprivation. whatever the case may be. So in that case, where's the poetry of Browning and Barrett? Where are the love songs by the Carpenters and Hall & Oates and Cole Porter that we sang to each other? What's the point of it all? So, as always, I take the question within the Spirit. I say, what is the answer here? What is it I need to know? And what I got was so simple and so natural and so profound at the same time. I heard, because we have chosen to express here on the planet in a physical body, in a physical chemical world, even divine love needs a physical/chemical vehicle to express on this planet. However, that doesn't make love any less holy just because it's a chemical compound that has been isolated. And that cranky psychiatrist of the article was actually correct. Love is not a part of human nature, it's a part of divine nature. Love is not a human thing at all. Love is a divine thing that works through this body, this consciousness. As spiritual beings having this human adventure, as I like to say, it would follow that the physical manifestation of the good has to have as its avenue of expression that which is organic to the physical laws of the planet. And that goes to the manifestation of divine love as well, moving through human consciousness. Now, everything the article says is true as far as it goes, but it's only a small part of the bigger picture. The reason why we as a culture have so much difficulty with relationships is because we have not spiritualized these relationships. Joel Goldsmith wrote in his book, The Gift of Love, only a spiritual bond existing between two people can keep that love fruitful, fulfilling, harmonious, and pure. Love is what binds us together. And what is love? Love is the ability of the Christ in me to speak to the Christ in you. Love is the ability to know that God is just as much your life as God is my life. I love you by knowing God's truth about you. And you feel that, and you respond to that. So simply by letting this divine love flow forth, we are drawing to each other the realization that we are one with each other. Now, the English word for love is a Latin word meaning desire. And desire, when you break it down, means of God, from spirit. So desire, the original desire, comes from spirit within us. Love is from God. Love is the movement, the activity of God from here moving forward. When we express love on the human level, we're expressing only a fraction of the power of divinity within us. Swami Vivekananda, whom the Fillmores, our co-founders, studied with for a while, said this about human love. He said, we're ever running after sexual pleasure, wealth, and fame. Sometimes they are hit very hard in the head and they find out what this world really is about. No one in this world can really love anything but God. Think about that for a moment. There is nothing but love for God, even if it seems to be expressed to you, or another person, or your family, or your pet. It's all the same love. It's all God energy moving forth from here outward. Now, this doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be hard. We make it difficult. We make love hard. Why is Real Housewives of Beverly Hills so popular? Because we love sometimes, from the human perspective, to watch other people who are worse off than we are. Well, they have money, but they can't do relationships. And we feel so happy about that we move forward. Or not. We can have the love we desire, we can have the relationships we desire, the friendships we desire, and for that matter, the career, the financial security, the wholeness of mind and body, if we simply apply the divine law of love to our conscious day-by-day living. You've heard the expression, marriage takes work. We know marriage takes work, but not the kind of work that we think. The work we have to do is behold each other as God beings. Do you see your husband, your wife, your partner as God? Think about that for a moment. How much God do you see in that other individual? Again, this is where the real work takes place. The missing toothpaste cap, the laundry on the floor that never gets into the bin, the annoying pantyhose over the shower curtain, the mangled razor, the empty cartons of milk in the refrigerator. All of these will be taken care of when you see that nitpicker and or lovable slob is really a perfect and holy being of light. It's hard to see it when they're being their usual charming selves, isn't it? But that's when we have to look through that and see that this person is God showing up in my life in the right and perfect way. Did you know you're sitting next to God? Is that a discussion you've had? Okay, we'll talk about that later. You've got to go. Now, it's almost become a cliche to say we have to love ourselves before we can love another. Even RuPaul on Drag Race, at the end of every episode says, if you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else? But that's the truth of who we are. We've got to begin here. We've got to begin with me. If I don't love myself, I'm not letting that love flow forth. And a lot of us do have a hard time with loving ourselves. Have you noticed that our culture kind of has a taboo about feeling good about ourselves? We have this constant fight in this culture about that. We're considered selfish for wanting to have our good. At the end of a workshop I did, somebody came to me and said they felt guilty whenever the idea of prosperity came up in our teachings because she was taught that to want anything at all was selfish. And it was really taking what was not yours, taking somebody else's good. But the truth is, selfishness is a clear indication of the lack of self-love and self-worth. Selfishness means I have to grab this and hoard this because it's not available to me. God doesn't have it for me, so I've got to take it myself. That's selfishness. When we love ourselves and see ourselves as divine beings, we know there's more than enough good to go around, that the universe is a blessing, that the universe is filled with good and always will be. We don't have to hoard anything. Hoarding is fear, accepting our good is love. Feeling love for ourselves, we want to let go of things that are destructive, like smoking or overeating or other addictions that blot out our pains and also blot out our joys. To love ourselves means taking care of these bodies by grooming and exercising, eating wisely, and treating it the way that we are listening to the body as saying, you need to pay attention here. To love ourselves means taking care of our souls by expanding our creativity into cooking or painting or writing or reading, whatever gives us joy and emotional satisfaction. To love ourselves means taking care of our spirit, praying, meditating, reading and studying spiritually centered material, and being with like-minded, spiritually aware people. We have to show up for each other. That's why we have 25 years of people showing up here for each other. Because we forget. We go out there and we forget that we're divine. We think, oh, I'm merely human, I have to keep struggling. Well, we don't. Keep coming back to remember that truth. We have to take care of ourselves if we're going to heal our lives. There was a woman who, after years of not being able to lose weight, went to a diet center. The counselor asked her what she thought life would be like when she lost all that weight, expecting the woman to say how excited she was. The woman said, well, I'll lose my husband, I'll lose my home, and I'll lose my job. The counselor said, but we're talking about weight, not those other things. And the woman said, I know, but when I like myself more, all those things won't be good enough for me. That's a really wonderful attitude. Let go of what does not work in your life. Let go of the weight, let go of the idea, let go of the relationships that are not worthy of a child of God. I love what Aristotle said. He is his own best friend and takes delight in privacy. Whereas the man of no virtue or ability is his own worst enemy and is afraid of solitude. So many of us are afraid of getting quiet. How many people go home and turn the TV on immediately? Because you need voice, you need something going on. We're afraid of the silence, we're afraid of our thoughts, we're afraid of our feelings. Go home today and don't turn the TV on. See what happens. See how long you can do with it. Talk to the dogs. Say something. It's really difficult if you're not used to that quiet. So we have to get quiet, listen to the still small voice that is telling us our next steps, telling us that we are loved by the universe, telling us, revealing our truth. I am a perfect child of divine love. Nothing can change that truth. I am a perfect child of divine love. Affirm that with me. I am a perfect child of divine love. Breathe it in. Was that hard? I just don't have to answer me. If that was hard to affirm, there's some work that needs to be done. This is the truth of who you are. You're perfect. Perfect means complete. It doesn't mean flawless in expression. It just means there's nothing missing. There's nothing missing in you. That's why Jesus said, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. I mean, that seems like a pretty tall order for anybody. But perfect means know that you're complete. There's nothing missing. You got all of God inside of you. You get everything you need for your life to work. To have the right partner, the right career, to have peace and joy in our minds and bodies, we have to have a romance with ourselves first. You've got to fall in love with you. If you don't, who else is going to fall in love with you? You've got to radiate that truth outwardly so you can draw that into your life. You are the love of your life. First, last, and always. You are the love of your life. We have to fall in love with the awesome, perfect, beautiful, creative, incredible God being of light and love that you are. Other people can see it so easier. We have all these thoughts of, oh, here's where I'm wrong, here's why I can't, we come up with all the excuses of why I'm not lovable. Yogananda taught that whether one is single or married, one should feel that God is your true beloved spouse, first and foremost. When we are married to God, our earthly marriages or holy unions become so much more powerful and they become so much more sacred. Because we know that we're one with God and everything else follows suit. The divine mystics spoke of God often as divine lover. 12th century mystic Meister Eckhart called God voluptuous and delicious. You ever thought of God in those terms? Like a cupcake. Think of your favorite food, that's God. Mystic Julian of Norwich described God as juicy. That's a really incredible, like a really ripe orange, filled with life and vitality. How juicy are you? If you're filled with God, you're juicy. Voluptuous, delicious. This is all part of who we are. Up until now, we haven't thought of spirit in terms of citrus fruit. But it's true. It's quite true. What is God but the fullness of life, love, power, joy, and all good? God is overflowing goodness in the abundance of life itself. Using poetic language, Julian of Norwich said, God feels great delight to be our true spouse, and the soul, the loved wife. Whether we're male or female, it doesn't matter. The soul is genderless. Now, if you happen to be searching for your earthly beloved or trying to heal a current rift in your relationship, what can we do next? What's the next step to bringing forth this expression of power, this power of love in your life? I want to go back to Goldsmith for a moment. He writes, our homes should be centers of love, temples of God. He said, we have to learn to forgive injustices quickly, realizing that God neither judges nor condemns, and that neither should we. God's forgiveness is 70 times 7, and so must ours be. Then does our consciousness become a transparency through which God's love enters and blesses others. That's a great image, isn't it? Our consciousness becomes transparent, like a wonderful, beautiful stained glass. The light moves through it, and yet it picks up the colors of power, of love, of joy. So there are two things to remember as we are doing our forgiveness work. Forgiveness actually lets us become that clear channel of spirit. Two things to remember in forgiveness work. The first one is if the person or yourself really knew better, they would not have done what they did to you, and you would not have done what you did to them. It's our fears that cause us to do what we normally would not do if we were centered in spirit. Fear of lack leads some people to rob banks or other people. Fear of loss of attractiveness leads some people to cheat on the ones that they love. I have to check this out. I have to see if this is the truth. And we're going in the wrong direction. In forgiving others, this is really important to remember. In forgiving others, we are not condoning the act or the acts that they did. We're not approving, we're not condoning, we're not saying what they did is okay. It doesn't mean that they did not do something out of order. Yes, we're bringing the love of God into the situation by forgiving, but that doesn't make us idiots. But we're happy to keep going along being abused and used. Forgiveness means I love myself as well, and enough to take myself out of that toxic situation. Yes, I forgive you, but you need to get help for your addiction or I will leave. I deserve better. I forgive you, but I choose not to be cheated on anymore. I love you, but you don't love yourself or us enough for this relationship to continue. I forgive you, I love you as a child of God, but you're obnoxious, you're obstinate, and you laugh like a hyena. Goodbye. Whatever we need to do. I go to meet my higher good. I love you, but I don't care for that personality manifestation, and that's fine. Everybody's not meant to be together. Your right and perfect mate is waiting for you when you release the one who is not yours, and vice versa. You know that old saw, forgive and forget? We would be better off not to forget. Because if we forget, it means we have to do it again. And we don't want to do it again. Get the lesson. Forgive, let them go, and move forward. So I invite you to take some time this week to let God reveal divine love in your life. Rekindle that romance if you're with a partner or mate. Fall in love with him or her again. Remember why you fell in love with that individual, because it's still there. And fall in love with yourself, maybe for the first time ever. What about you as level? Begin a self-love book or a list. Say, what are my wonderful qualities? Because you have them. You have a lot of them. So your assignment this week is to write your partner or spouse a note every day for 7 days, telling them what you love about them. Like, just something very simple. I love your smile. I love your compassion. I love how you wake me up in the morning with breakfast. That might be an affirmation, but that's a good affirmation. I love how you walk the dog and let me sleep. Now, these are not about coercion. You only write these if they're true. If you're single and you want a mate, begin a list of those qualities you desire in the other person. What qualities are you looking for? And then do a note to yourself. Make a list of, again, your wonderful qualities and add to it every day for a week. What about you is wonderful? What about you is unique? What about you is something to be proud of? Your talents, your accomplishments, your holy qualities. Remember I shared with you, I think a few months ago, about a woman I counseled. I told her, write out everything you want in a mate. She wrote out 35 pages. And I said, do you think you can knock it down to a few less? She came back, she got it down to about 12. All right. She found the person that had every single quality on those 12 pages. I married them, and they're still together 20-something years later. This stuff works. It really does. But we have to get clear about what it is that we desire. When we affirm for ourselves and each other, as loving beings, we are calling forth that divine Christ self within, and our healing comes forth so powerfully. So I invite you to close your eyes. Go to your heart. Go to your heart. Go to love. I ask you to rededicate yourself, your life, to spirit within, to be the expression of love we were actually called here to be. If you're here with someone special, hold their hand. Or hold your own hand. That's fine too. If you're single, acknowledge the Christ being that you are and hold that love in your heart, in your mind, in every cell, every tissue of your being. Let that love flow from you to the other individual or through your own hands, returning to yourself. Know that the love flowing through you is God loving God. Spirit acknowledging itself as perfect, whole, sacred, holy. No condemnation, no fear, only pure, gentle, healing love. Breathe into that wonderful energy. No condemnation, no fear. Nothing but Spirit. Holy Spirit at work right now. Go to your heart and ask, what do I need to release for this God love to flow forward? What ideas have I been holding about another person I need to release? I invite you to bring a loved one to your mind that you may have been having difficulty with. See that person in front of you filled with light, with love, with peace, with joy, smiling, glowing forth as the light of the world. Whatever spiritual journey they're on, we bless them. We see them as God does, perfect, powerful, loving, and loved. As I see them differently, they act differently. As I see them as God does, they begin to act sacredly, lovingly, kindly. And now I hold myself in my heart and I forgive myself for any challenges that may have cropped up in my family or my relationships. I forgive myself for anything I think is unforgivable, because it's not. I forgive myself for not being perfect in its expression yet. I am a divine being unfolding my God self. In the quiet of our being, just for a few moments, know God and I are one. God and I are one. Breathe in. All it takes is a brief moment in the quiet. 1 second is all it takes to know God and I are one. Breathe into your heart and Return your sense of self, your consciousness back into this room, this place. We bring back with us the awareness that we are divine love in the flesh. Take another breath. And breathe out. And we come back into this room, we sing. The greatest thing in all my life is loving you. The greatest thing in all my life is loving you. The greatest thing in all my life is loving you. I want to love you more. I want to love you more. The greatest thing in all my life take a moment to close our eyes before we move on to the rest of our day. And as we do, I invite you to let that love that we've been talking about flow forth. I invite you to let that love reach out to those in your family, your friends, your co-workers who may be going through a challenging time right now. We see them as Spirit does, loving, healthy, prosperous, peace-filled. As we lift ourselves up, we lift them up. As we lift them up, we lift ourselves up. And we bless this city and this area with love and light and wisdom. We see our leaders guided perfectly by divine love and wisdom within them. They know what to do. They make wise choices. We bless our country, our planet, and see every individual as a child of God. And as the song says, love will be our home when we know this truth. And so it is.